of course, I feel like Rennie Harlan in the studio is going to show us what we already know about the Strangers. And then once we get into that, we're going to get into that different chapter and figure out other things that maybe we don't, maybe a different story to tell. So, for me, I think that's a point that, people have to start thinking about, is that the trailer is probably going to show us the exact same thing that we've seen from the original instead of any new ideas that they're going to present. They want to take you on that ride.
I think that this is a little bit closer to the first film than I was anticipating.
Boy, I hate being right all the time.
Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. After their car breaks down in an eerie small town, a young couple is forced to spend the night in a remote cabin. Panic ensues as they are terrorized by 3 masked strangers who strike with no mercy and seemingly no motive. Yes, folks, this is our raw reaction review for the hotly anticipated The Strangers, Chapter 1. Luke, I gotta say, I have really enjoyed getting reacquainted with The Strangers the last couple of weeks. We did a review of the original, which was honestly, I think it had been a long time for both of us since we'd seen it, and we had a lot of positive things to say about it. And we even popped over to our buddy Killjoy Jake's channel to discuss not only that, but the sequel, which we also had some positive things to say about. And I gotta say, I was super on board for more Strangers films after that. I was ready to go. I was excited to see what this new trilogy has to hold. And my God, what a travesty this film truly is. I'm not even going to bury the lead. This is a mess.
I don't like uninvited guests, but also it's pretty bad when a guest overstays their welcome. And I think we've gotten that here with Rennie Harlan's version, where we talked about it in our trailer reaction of this can't just be a complete retread, right? That wouldn't make sense. You can't expect us to pay a ticket price and go into the theater and just watch a remake, almost beat for beat, but not as good. That can't be possible, right? It is.
And that's what they did. I mean, like, it seriously is. Like, guys, this is this kind of hurts. This kind of stings, because I think when this all first got announced, it was intriguing. It's interesting to hear that Rennie Harlan, somebody who doesn't have like a stacked filmography, but certainly has some films on there that we enjoy. Some of his stuff from the early 2000s and the late 90s, a lot of really solid stuff. And I gotta say, I was intrigued when you have a director of, I guess, that kind of, I wouldn't say caliber, but of that note, coming and attaching themselves to a franchise like this and getting 3 films. And this is just one of those 3 films. And again, like Luke said there, we were worried. We were very, very adamant in our trailer breakdown and subsequent videos since, this has got to have a little something different, because that first trailer looked so similar to the very first film from 2008. And guys, that is all this movie is. This movie is literally, I think I said this twice walking out of the theater, this is the movie that would have been made if the first film from 2008 was us watching the real events. If that was the real true crime story version of it, this is the Hollywoodized movie that would have been made off of those events. Like, it is that much of a joke. And that's what this film is. Seriously, this is a joke. There is nothing that I can sit here and praise about it. And I'm always doing my best coming on here. I know Luke does the same, where we, even for films we don't like, we try to find something in here that's at least something that we can latch onto and say they tried something here. They didn't try anything. This is beat for beat the first film, but worse.
Yeah, and when we're talking about remakes, reimaginings, whatever you want to call it, it is one of those things where, hey, go for it, but make it your own. For better or worse, make it something different. Just don't make it a straight on retread of what we had seen in the past events. Give us a reason to go to the theater and see this. Unfortunately, The Strangers Chapter 1 did not do that at all. This is, I hate always bringing up an original compared to a new property like this out there, because sometimes that comparison, you're going to have so much love for something, the original, because you've been with it for so long. So but this one, it's hard to unmarry it. You can't, because it follows so closely to that original film, but it takes away everything that was good about that first film in terms of the voyeurism, the tension. When we discussed that trailer breakdown, I compared those two scenes of the Sackhead guy where Liv Tyler's getting a drink of water and he's in the background. It's not in your face. It's just kind of casually there if you pick up on it, and the eeriness, the voyeuristic aspect of that. And then in Rennie Harlan's trailer here, you have the Sackhead right in your face. And that really is, I think, the tone more so here. We're playing for those jump scares. It is more Hollywoodized. It is that kind of general audience horror. It's that updated version to kind of say, we want to get the younger crowd. I guess maybe that's their motive here. I don't know, to kind of, because I guess you could critique it if you don't feel the tension that first one. You can say, it's a slower pace. It loses my attention, where this one, I think, was just kind of more in your face, trying to keep that thrill ride going. But unfortunately, it just does not work. If you were going to do that, you got to bring something different to the table, and they were serving us the same meal.
Yeah, this is one of those things where it's like you look at that first film and us having such a fresh revisit to that, and really getting to take in the material and see why it has kind of become an infamous, not infamous, but a famous, slasher film over the last few years, of being something a little bit more outside of the box. We really gave it more credit than we like have been over the years. It's one that's kind of been there, and we never really gave it its due. And it was nice to come back and see that. So it got me excited to see, okay, if we're really going to pick this up and we're really going to take it now, it's like, let's actually put some energy into it. And that they just didn't. It's literally stripping down all of the uniqueness, all of the tension, all of the just the little things too, the way that it was shot, the way that it was lit, all the music cues, everything from the first film that made it unique, and they stripped it all away with literally like taking the most paper thin characters. Now, I will say this, that the characters in the very first film, they're not the most fleshed out. They're not the deepest people in the world. They're going through some emotional moments, and you really resonate with them. But it's not like you're getting to know everything there is to know about them. These characters, it's like the generic, I guess if you want to say final girl number one, and generic boyfriend, like that's it. There's nothing to them. And they literally, like, all of the callbacks that they make to that first film, or I guess you could call them callbacks, they're really just redoing scenes. They feel like a joke. They literally feel like, oh, they're kind of poking fun at the fact that this is what happened in the first film. There's nothing intense about it. You can call everything about it. The one scene, and we cannot get into spoilers, that they retread, that is the biggest slap in the face, in my opinion, for this movie, involves another character showing up. That's all I'll say. And it's like, you watch the first film and you see how that happens and how that event transpires, and it's heartbreaking. It's tough. It's like, wow, that's heavy shit. It's legitimately a joke. It is laughable in this movie, and it's again, it feels like you're watching the first film from 2008 on 2 times speed, in a sense. Like, it's roughly about the same runtime, if not a little shorter, but like, it is significantly faster. And the little bits of new stuff they add are really just like the setting and like a couple of interactions with more people, and they do nothing with them. They are inconsequential to where we end up in the end of this film.
And I know you spoke on the characters, in the original, not having a rich kind of backstory, but I think the idea there is, at least they give us an interesting dynamic that we don't
Right?
always see. And I think that's what's missing here, amongst other things, is that kind of personal connection where Scott Speedman, Liv Tyler, I think they put on phenomenal performances. They really sell that relationship and the instance that they're in. And then, looking at this film, it just is those kind of general horror characters that we just throw in. They almost feel like, character one, character two from any Friday the 13th film that is just part of the teen group that gets killed early on. And that's just really what we get. I think, you either mentioned it, we've talked about The Strangers a handful of times already, so I can't exactly remember what video you talked about, but you went into Brian Bertino's kind of initial idea of that anxiety of that instance that he had as a child. And looking at that and the tension that he brings to that film and the pacing, you just feel it. You feel it. It really gets under your skin, I think. And looking at that instance, the way he's able to build that tension, it feels intimate, it feels personal, where it's, we all have those instances as kids where it's like something sticks with you and you kind of mold that throughout the years and you kind of create of how to build that tension if you ever want to build a script off of it. Whereas it looks like Rennie Harlan took those beats that Brian Bertino had a actual connective tissue with because he actually lived through it and kind of it terrorized him, and then just took those instances and just applied them to a general horror movie
Mhm.
and just filled in the gaps. And in there we don't get anything unique here. Again, anything that's maybe different is just so minor that it's insignificant. The dynamics do not change at all. It really is just the same film with less gravitas to it. This is something that is completely disposable. It's something that I can't believe we're going to be getting 2 more chapters here, because I don't know what that's going to look like after this one. And it's, we even revisited Pratt and I, which I was not a fan of that film, and very different than the 2008 version, but a lot of fun. They had a lot of fun with that, a lot of flavor, where this one completely bland. It's just a retread, recycling beats and not really adding your own personal touch to it.
Yeah, and I mean that's the biggest thing about it too, is because when we did revisit Prey at Night, it's like it is different. But it's got style. We talked about it on our way out, where it's like we found a newfound love for that movie because of the style that they add to it and just the change that it brought to the idea of the strangers. Because I think that's the thing that this chapter one has now fully cemented, is just like you can't redo that first film. You can't redo it, and you can't do it in like. I think that ship has sailed. I think that's done. It's cemented its place. And if you are going to redo it, why would you take such a light hand to this? Why would you take such a like a paper thin? We're just going to toss some paint. This is like what's that terminology that when you're like renting a place out and you just take white paint and you paint it on everything. It's like that's what they did. That's what the landlord did. The landlord special. There you go. They gave the strangers the landlord special, and that's what this film is. It's literally, we're just going to put a new coat of paint on it. Not going to really fix anything. Not saying that much needed fixed, but we're not going to do anything to it. We're not going to make it fresh and new and exciting and ready for the new tenants or maybe some previous tenants who are excited to come in. That's a terrible analogy, but it's just one of those things where it's like I'm struggling to really find why this was the journey they wanted to take with this. Because like that's the thing, I'm a big supporter of remakes. Luke is too. We don't hate a lot of remakes. There are some that are just like, why are we doing it? And this is one of those. This is one of those where it just gives remakes a bad name, because a remake is exactly how Luke laid it out at the start. If you're gonna do it, you want to bring something fresh to it. You want to take the puzzle pieces or the characters, the settings, just some of the elements, and then bring your own story, your own flair to it to kind of move that along. This is not that, and that is going to continuously frustrate me, no matter what they do in chapters 2 and 3. This is going to be a black mark on this trilogy. This is going to be something that there is no reason to go back and watch this movie. And they're going to have to really work hard with 2 and 3. And the fact that they're already shot, already in the can, they've already committed to it. I would be worried. I would be very concerned if I was looking at the reaction from audiences right now, because this is not like a Halloween 2018 situation or like a Force Awakens situation from years back where people were like, hey, it's very similar to the originals. You know, it's taking a lot of the same beats and a lot of the same characters. This is straight up retread, repaint, and repackage, throwing it back on the shelf. That's all this is. There's nothing new here. This is god awful.
We're in for two more films, so it's a marathon here. But I will say that they have stumbled and face planted right out of the gate at the starting line. So they're gonna really have to make up a lot of ground if they can. Just because what a weak first chapter, what a weak start to this. I guess trilogy that we're getting. And I know one of the big things here is we can have weak characters. People are coming into this thing to, for the strangers to see what they're going to do. And I got to say, in comparison to that first film, honestly, the performances were absolutely weak. We've
There
talked about it.
no personality at
No.
all in there at
And
all.
I kept getting Dollface and Pinup confused. They're both wearing beanies, so for me sometimes it was hard to differentiate when we have those moments of Dollface delivering the iconic lines, and it just didn't. There was no personality there. It was no long-standing kind of, we're gonna be referencing this for years to come like we do with that original film. And then I talked about Sackhead's performance just from a body language standpoint. This one, so generic, just kind of standing there. There was no eeriness to it. No kind of that voyeuristic aspect for me just wasn't there because they were so quick with those cuts. They were so close with everyone. And I don't think it didn't feel like they took their time here. So, everything that made that original special, they took it away, and they just replayed those beats at a faster pace and, gave us a lesser product, unfortunately.
This is a soulless movie. And I think you're precisely correct there when you bring up the strangers themselves, because yeah, they have nothing of value really when you compare them to those other movies. Like, think about that scene in Pray at Night when the dad dies, and Sackhead sits down and he plays with the radio. I don't
There's
see
no
that
moment.
Sackhead in
Yeah.
here. He is a generic, I'm wearing a bag head, I'm coming in here and killing. Like, there's one sequence involving a doorway where it's like, I think it's supposed to come off as intimidation and fear. It's awkward, it's confusing. It's like, all right, what's going on here? Because you're not intimidating, you're not scary, you're so in my face that there's no room, there's no tension, there's nothing here. I'm literally moving from scene to scene, just kind of waiting. And that's the unfortunate bit. Like, once you get so deep into this movie and you realize that it is just a straight retread, I'm sitting there waiting for this film to get to the end, because I'm like, okay, this is the movie where they're gonna pull the final punch is gonna be the big twist, and it's gonna be like, oh, okay, I see where we're going, or wow, I can't wait to see where we go in the next couple films. No, no, and I'm not gonna spoil anything for you, but if you've seen the first film, you already know what's coming. Like, there's nothing to really spoil. So it is just a huge slap in the face, and I am so beyond disappointed in The Strangers Chapter 1. This is a clear slash it. There have only been like 3 movies this year that have really upset me. And this is one of them. This is one where I'm just like, this is like, why are we even doing this? Like, why if these other 2 films are this generic, I don't even want them. Like, I'm giving them basically one more opportunity here to give me something intriguing with chapter 2. But if I come out of chapter 2 just as frustrated, I will only see chapter 3 out of the obligation to this channel. I have no interest in it after that, because it's like, this feels like they're not even trying. That's how bad this is to me.
Yeah, it just feels lazy. It feels like Rennie Harlan took Brian Bertino's script and crossed his name out and put his and changed a couple things and then turned it in. But for me, yeah, this is an absolute slash. This is, yes, we've given it a couple of slashes throughout the years thus far, but this one, I don't know. For me, this is such a weird dynamic. We have 2 more on the way. They're already committed. This one is already an established IP with 2 fun installments already, and they decided to redo everything literally. And to start this first chapter off here, this one is just very personal to me because we've had so much fun with those past 2 installments. And then we come into the theater for this one. This was the first one I actually got to go to the theater to see. And I gotta say, this was just a travesty for me. It's absolute slash. It's yeah, I'll go see the second one. Honestly, I'm probably at that. The second one will be as an obligation, just to kind of be able to cover it. Because I don't know. I guess I'm intrigued to see, unless they're gonna redo Pray at Night. Hey, we can't really pull anything from that original. So the last 2 have to be somewhat of a unique voice. So, at least I'll give Rennie Harlan that, but I don't know. This is a slash, and I'm not excited, to say the least, for The Strangers, chapter 2 and 3.
Yeah, and I think the only point I can give this movie is the fact that, like, we don't have to wait that long to find out. So thankfully we're not sitting here for like a year or 2 years and being like, wow, I wonder what the fuck's going to happen with chapter 2. No, apparently we have to wait till the fall. I know we were making jokes about reshoots and stuff like that are going to get announced. They're going to change a bunch of stuff, but no, man, I think they've made their bed. We'll just have to see if they sleep in it. I don't know.
Maybe it'll go to streaming. I don't know. I don't know if they can do it.
It could happen.
I don't know. But
it could happen. I mean, it'll maybe go to Peacock or Netflix or something. At this point, I think they're pretty dead set committed. I think like this is gonna trick a lot of people, and people are gonna go spend their money because I know so many people are excited to see this, because it's The Strangers and they're bringing the IP back, and like that's the other piece of this that hurts so bad because I know so many people who have been like more excited, bigger Strangers fans than you and I. Like we're recent, I could say we're recent adopters into that, where we're like, this is a really cool, I understand why this is so loved. And like to hear those people who've been waiting for this for so long, going into this movie tonight, it's like, that sucks, dude. I'm so sorry that this is what they're doing to you right now. And it's just almost like the only thing that would make any sense to me, and I know I'm going to ramble and rant, which we're going to save for the spoiler talk here, but like, is that this was the studio mandated movie, and now Rennie Harlan gets to make 2 movies that are just what he wants to do. Where the studio was like, no, we need to play it safe, and he just stuck all of the stuff that the studio was like, let's do the formula that works and put it in there. But even then, I think I'm being too kind. I think I'm being way too kind there by saying that. And I don't truly believe that. I think this is a mess from the get-go, but we will find out, and we will definitely be sitting down with a couple of our buddies, Evan from Rockland Graves and Jake, Killjoy Jake over there, on Sunday to discuss all of the spoilers. So yes, if you're not heeding our warning and you're going to go out and take a stab at The Strangers Chapter 1, make sure you come on over and lick your wounds with us on Sunday morning, and we will be breaking down what little there is new and ranting and raving about all of the stuff they completely botched in this film.
it's a Strangers support group of sorts.
There we go.
Morning.
Yes, that is how we're going to be spending our Sunday. So I hope to see you guys there. Again, Strangers fans, not that my apology means anything here. I'm really sorry that this is how they're doing you right now, but yeah, it's an unfortunate day. This is not the review I was hoping to do. I was hoping at best to be like, that was okay. I'm excited to see what they do next. I was not expecting to get on here and be this angry, but hey, that's the name of the game. I guess that's what it is. So, other than that, guys, got a lot of great stuff up on the channel. Lots of fun reviews out and about. There is another film coming out this week, Faceless After Dark, which you should probably check out over this. That one's going straight to streaming, so you guys can just rent that. We have a review up for that, as well as the new release from Shudder, which is another sequel to an IP, something probably not many people know about, but that's Night Watch, Demons Are Forever, which we talked about. So that one definitely fared a bit better than this, in our opinion. But alrighty, guys, that's going to wrap it up here. So until next time, I am Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the hard shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, slash, 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 slash.